Pardon me if I look a little dusty. Had to climb behind my hot water heater and grab a particulate that was stuck in the fan motor. And I think it's a little bit dusty back there. So I don't know. I like this shirt though. It's nice and warm down here. It's cold down here, so the shirt's nice and warm. Anyways, little ironic that I have a thing that says all about Brew, and I've got a can of store-bought beer, which I won't tell you what kind this is, because you probably already know anyway. And if you don't, you can have 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have any homebrewed beer today. A couple days from now, I probably will, maybe. Because the brew that I did last week should be ready to stick in a keg by then. However, for all you purists or people who are playing along at home, I do have home-brewed wine. So it can be brew-related, you see. See, I got out of that one real quick, didn't I? So although I'm drinking one of these things, I do have a glass of homemade wine. Although it's not really homemade, is it? I added yeast to it, that's all I did. Anyway, first we'll take a sip of this one. Double fist time. Woo. Need a little jingle for that. Double fisted. Woo. Okay, here we go. You know, it is what it is. The time that I have had, or lack of time I've had recently, which is why I haven't got any homebrew at the moment, I would have been better off just putting together a real quick pre-hopped can beer kit. It would have tasted much better than this. So there's a time and a place for that stuff, seriously, and I'm not inclined to argue with anybody about that. It's just the way it is, you know. This wine is quite good, actually, from what I could tell. I took this to Christmas with me. My sister, brother, my mom, you know, everybody was there. And I took 2 bottles of wine. One was this stuff. This is the stuff that came out of the big white bucket that you just, you know, you bring it home, you pitch your yeast, you're done, and you make wine. That's what this is. And let's get a, oh, here it is. That's what it looks like. Right? Can you see that? You should be able to. This flashlight's going a little bit, getting a little bit low, but anyway. And I took a second bottle, which was the California Connoisseur wine kit that you put together, you know, yourself with the syrup and all that, you know, the juice and whatever. So out of the 2 bottles of wine, they tasted them both. We did a little comparison, you know. It was fun, actually. We had all these glasses around and we were trying the 2 to see, and it was a blind test. They didn't know which was which, what was what. So I gave them this one first, the one out of the bucket that you just pitched the yeast in, and they were like, this is good. So everybody was pretty pleased with it. And these are people that, you know, they don't really brew their own stuff, so they're not used to home-brewed taste, you know. My mother and my sister brew, they go to a place that does it for you. And they usually get something like a I don't know, a red wine with made from a kit, and it's got, like, you know, oak in it and stuff like that. So they're used to the flavor of that. So when I brought out the second bottle, which was a California Connoisseur Chardonnay or whatever it was, they were like, yeah, this is more what I'm used to, because that's what they drink, you know. But they still liked this one. That's good wine. But they liked the other one a little bit better because it had a little more of the oak flavor in it. But you can add oak flavor to this, which I will next time. Definitely. So let me give this a whirl, because I haven't tasted this in a couple... Actually, I don't think I've had any of this since then. That was a month ago. Sheesh. So this has been sitting around, aging. Let me see what we got. Let's just take that right out of the way. It's good. It's really good stuff. It's, you know, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's It's a little bit more bitter than the kits, and it's got a little less oak flavor, and that's my fault. I could have put that in. For $30 for 5 gallons of wine that tastes like this, I can't complain. I can't complain. Cheers. I got a few things I want to talk about this week, and before I do, I'll just get a little more of this into me. Okay, I'll put it down over here so I can see it, so I don't elbow it and knock it over. Thank you very much, and by the way, happy Homebrew Wednesday if I haven't said that already. This is the third take. Last week, I want to thank you guys for all your kind remarks on last week's Homebrew Wednesday video. You know, the one with the fuzzy transporter effect and all that, which was a lot of fun. You know, once in a while you just got to have a little bit of fun with it. I miss doing all that stuff. When I used to videotape weddings, I had a lot of fun doing all those twisty special effects. And I didn't do too many of them because it was a little tacky to put too much stuff like that in. But keeping it simple is good, but once in a while you throw in something special and it works. And so, yes, I do read your comments, of course, on all my videos, especially the recent ones. And with the Homebrew Wednesday ones, I read them all through the week up until just before I shoot the next week's video. So it's very easy for me to draw upon the comments that some of you leave. And so I want to go through a couple of things that were mentioned last week. One of them gets tossed around quite a bit. And it's really boring, so I won't spend a lot of time on it. But it has to do with water and the water that you use to brew your beer. One fellow in the comments section, you know, every once in a while you get a little bit of somebody's a little bit sarcastic, which is fine, I guess. And you know, we're kind of knocking the fact that I, you know, boiled the wort, but then I added tap water to it. What's the sense of adding tap water? Or sorry, what's the sense of boiling your wort, doing all that, when you're just going to top it up with tap water? Well, first of all, you have to boil your wort if you're adding hops, because the hops have to be boiled. You also want to sanitize your liquid malt extract, because you don't know where it came from. And of course, if you're doing all grain, you have to boil it for at least an hour and add your hops. And then you're not really topping it up with anything because you've got your full volume there. Which brings me to another topic, which I'll bring up later, which is why I did the late malt edition on that video. And I'll explain that in just a moment. So I use tap water. Even when I do all grain, I use tap water. And there are people out there who really, they're not a fan of that. Okay, listen. I'm going to give you my take on it. I am not necessarily speaking fact here. I'm just telling you the way I think about it, the way it seems to me. All right? Because I mean, John Palmer, we interviewed him a few months ago. He talked about water, but it was the last thing on his list that he thought was important during the brewing process. You know, he's got 5 things that he goes through. He's got, you know, the sanitation, then there's the recipe, and I forget the order of everything, but he's got this thing. But the 5th thing, water. So it's the least of your concern, really, when you're brewing beer, is from what he says. And I agree. On the other hand, water is the main ingredient in your beer, isn't it? Okay, it's you know, if you had an ingredients list on your bottle of beer, the first ingredient would be water. So yes, of course, your water's important. It's most of what your beer's made out of, or your wine, or whatever. At least not this wine, because this is somebody else's water. I don't know where this water came from, because it was already mixed together. But you know what I mean. So I understand how important it is. My tap water is very high quality. I mean, I bought a water cooler a few years ago only because I wanted cold water in the summertime. Not because I didn't like the flavor of the water that came out of the tap. Listen, again, I'm going to keep this short because it's a really boring topic. I don't know if anyone's ever done a side-by-side test of, you know, the same beer, one with bottled water, one with tap water. And of course, everybody's tap water is different. I mean, you know, where I live, I get that tap water. Where you live, you get that tap water. It could be completely different. You've got a completely different water filtration system, a different water table, a different chemical thing going on. There's different acidity. There's different soft, hard, medium, all this stuff. So you've got to look at your water. You've got to try to brew with your water to see if you can. Otherwise, I don't think anybody can really say anything about using tap water to brew beer unless you've done it and it was a failure. Right? I've done it for over 25 years. It's not a failure. It is not a failure at all. So I've never done a brew with bottled water. I can honestly say I never have. Maybe that's something I should try. Maybe there's a learning thing going on there. Maybe I should do a side-by-side thing. Maybe somebody should do that. But if I do it, that's fine with my water that I get through my tap. Doesn't mean your water is going to give you the same results. So it's kind of stupid to do it, right? Everyone has to try their own thing. Okay. Now, bottled water has minerals in it. It's got the fluorides. Most of it does have the fluoride in it, which is a whole other topic altogether, fluoride. But anyway, we'll touch that one. And chlorine. The chlorine is there to stop the water from developing or containing bacteria. It's pretty clean water. Now, there are some concerns about the chlorine. In my water, I don't feel there's enough of it to worry about. I can't smell it. The water is clean. The water can sit for 2 weeks in a glass out on the table, and it does not taste funny. So in my mind, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of chemical things, and there's, God knows, there's probably a chemist watching this video. It's one of you guys is a chemist or something. You might have your own reasons. And lots of people pay so much attention to their water when they do their brew, especially all grain, because you're mashing in this water and you want stuff to happen chemically in this mash. And it has to happen the most efficient way possible. So people, yes, they're adding salts or some stuff to the water, minerals, whatever, to give that water the proper properties for the mash. So all grain brewing, sure. Do your research about your water. Use what you think works best. When you're doing extract brewing, like I mostly do, or even just the beer kits or whatever, you know, you really don't have to worry too much about it. The minerals are already there in the extract when they give it to you. It's all in my interview with John Palmer. We talked about this for a good 10 minutes. Okay, bottom line, because I want to move on. If you feel better using bottled water for your beer, if you don't feel that your tap water is good enough, then use bottled water. I mean, you know, it's pretty simple. I mean, myself, I really don't think that it's worth the difference in taste between my tap water and the bottled water that I've been buying, because I do buy it because I like cold water in the summertime, right? On the cooler. The difference in flavor is really not enough for me to worry about which one I'm going to use. I guess I don't know. I don't want to ramble. There's so much I want to say, but I don't want to carry home 5-gallon bottles of water every time I want to make beer. When my water coming out of my faucet is fine. When you cook pasta, when you make a soup, when you make a stew, when you make a chili, when you boil your pasta, when you use, you cook with water. Most of us do, right? Do you use bottled water when you cook? I think that people fuss a little too much sometimes about it. But if you feel like that's part of the hobby for you and you want to mess with that, go for it. I'm not complaining. Yes, I used my tap water for brewing. No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. No, I've never had a problem with it. No, I've never had an infection because of it. The next W I wanted to talk about was wort. Specifically, when you're doing the style of brewing that I did last week, which is a partial extract brewing, in the brew that I did last week, I didn't add all of the liquid malt extract into the wort at the beginning of the boil, like the instructions said to. And some brew companies, like home brew manufacturers that make the beer kits. I've had them that, sometimes they'll say, only add 3/4 of the extract and then save the last quarter for the end of the boil and add it then. Some of them do, some of them don't. Does it make a huge difference? I don't know. The working theory is that the denser your wort is, like the higher the gravity of your wort, the less the hops are going to isomerize, if you will. The less flavor you're going to get from the hops. So, so when you're doing a partial extract, a lot of times when people do partial extract beers, they got a pot on the stove. It doesn't hold the entire complement of the brew, so they have to use like 3 gallons of water. They got to do their boil, add their, put their grains in, soak their grains, whatever, put their extract in, and then start their boil and start adding their hops. And the hops, you really don't want a specific gravity in your boil higher than, say, 1.045 or something, or 40, or certainly no more than 1.050. So if I had 3 gallons of water and I added all the extract, everything, then I'm going to have a pretty high gravity wort, whatever, to boil. And the hops are not going to like that. So with 3 gallons of water, you only add 2/3 of the extract. And you do your boil, and you get your hops going on in there. You do your whole thing. You build your beer. And at the very end of the boil, you add the rest of the extract. Just to sanitize it. And, or pasteurize it or whatever. And you get it back up to a boil, and then you flame out, and you do whatever you're supposed to do after that. That's why you do it. And that's why I do it. I think, whenever we're brewing, we always have our own little things that are important to us. Like, some people worry about the water because it's the main ingredient. There's so much of it that goes into your beer, so they focus on that. Other people might worry more about other things like sanitation, which I do. I'm a freak when it comes to sanitizing. I never used to be, but I am now, because I'm getting such better beer now than I used to. Now that I have to admit, like 20 years ago, I didn't even sanitize anything when I made my beers. Never even did it. I seem to remember some pretty interesting flavors in the beer. Some of them which I couldn't palate unless I filled it with ice and drank it like a rum and coke, Anyway, sanitizing, water, late malt additions, which method you use, all grain extract. I think that the most important thing that I've tried to get across, and by the way, today's my birthday. Yay! I'm 50 today. Wow, I'm an old bastard. I think the thing that you need to realize, what the point I've tried to get across over the years, you got to do what's comfortable for you. It's your beer. And whatever you think is best. If the beer tastes good to you, you're doing the right thing. If you can think of a way to make it taste better, go for it. Maybe you'll try something and it's not going to make any difference, so you won't bother next time. It's what it's all about. It's kind of what this whole discussion is all about. Which water do you feel better using? What do you do you want to add that extra malt addition right at the top, or do you want to wait till the end of the boil to do it? I mean, which kind of yeast do you want to use? Do you want to rehydrate your yeast? Do you think it matters if you do that, or you just sprinkle it on? Everybody's got their own comfort zones. And as like I said, our friend John Palmer, as he said, if you're going to make beer, you owe it to yourself to make the best beer that you can. And when he said that on the interview, I tagged something on the end of what he said, on the end of his sentence, very sneakily. I said, with the time that you have. So he said, you owe it to yourself to make the best beer that you can. And I said, with the time that you have. Because time is part of it. You've got your grains, you've got your ingredients, your water, your yeast, your hops, your this, that, and your time. So you have to factor that in as well. So there's the two topics I wanted to cover. I hope I did that well enough for you guys. I hope I didn't bore you too much. These are things that were on my mind and things that came from the comments last week. Most certainly, if you have something that you find is you think is worth me discussing, and certainly mention it down below in the comments, and I'll read it. And if I think it's something that I can shed light on, then I will. Absolutely. These are your videos, not mine. I don't do this for, for me. I could sit here and talk to myself all night long without a camera in front of me, So this is your stuff. You decide what you want me to talk about, and I'll pick and choose from that. That's the beauty of this. I think that's me for this week. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been a blast. I started doing YouTube when I was about, let's see, it was 2006. Holy crap. I didn't even realize this. Oh, shit. I started YouTube when I was 40. So 10 years. And I'm going to keep going, We're going to keep trucking forward, making new videos, doing this homebrew thing, doing the cast. So here's to another 10 years of brewing and filming and talking and casting and whatever else I do on here. And I really, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing it at all. So it's your support and everything that's really kept this going. Anyways, I'm going to finish off with a few little, clean housekeeping things. I have t-shirts available. It's tgtshirts.com. Go there, look up top left. You'll see the t-shirts if you want one. I have a beautiful photograph here, which I found on Facebook, of this couple. And these are people who are fans of mine that are wearing these. These two are from Australia. I mean, just look at that beautiful, cute, amazing picture. So there you have it. If you want me to put your picture of you wearing my shirt or something significant having to do with homebrew in the video, Homebrew Wednesday video, then you send it to craigtubemail@gmail.com. And if I decide to put it in, great. If it's significant enough, if I don't put it in, don't be, like upset. Just send me something else that you think I'll put in, Especially if you bought a CraigTube t-shirt and you're wearing it and you want to show it off. Well, what better way to show it off than to put it in my email? 17brewcrew.com, a great place to go, great forum, perfect for asking questions if I'm not around, or if I am, I'm in there, There's never a reason for you to not know an answer to a brewing question. I'm out of here, guys. I'm going to bottom this out, I guess would be the term. And thank you. And happy 50th birthday to you too when that time comes, if it hasn't already. Thank you a lot, very much, guys, and we'll see you very soon. Take care. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Brew that beer. Cheers. 17.